Almost 75 years ago, my husband's grandparents on both sides of his family were commissioned as Salvation Army officers in the far corners of the South Pacific in the Philippines. At their commissioning, an officer charged the newly commissioned group of lieutenants by saying something to the extent of, "You may be persecuted for your faith. You may even be imprisoned for your faith, but you must remain strong." A short time later, they were able to put that charge into action when they were captured and placed in a Japanese prisoner of war camp during World War II. His grandparents held firmly to the vision God had for them and the vision God had for the people around them. Years later, I am reminded of God's grace as I stand here as a representation of His favor upon their lives. We may never be imprisoned for our faith, but who really knows besides God? I can think of a few of my session mates that might be imprisoned first. I do believe that we could all end up in a prisoner of war camp. The camp we are faced with is not comprised of cinder blocks and barbed wire. I believe the camp we are faced with in modern Western society looks like death of vision. The challenge I have for myself and the beloved disciples of the cross and the spirit of the officers 75 years ago in the Philippines is simply this: be strong when you are tempted to adulterate God's vision for His ministry for something you can do on your own power. Habakkuk 2:3 says, "For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay." Developing an eye and a sensitive heart for the Lord's vision requires lifelong learning and teachability. Academics play a pivotal role in recognizing that vision. The intended purpose for the College of Officers training is to act like an incubator for emerging leaders. The hope is once the emerging leaders emerge from the incubator, they will be able to combat things that can lead to death of vision, such as fear and insecurity. Fear and insecurity is an inevitable reality that we will be faced with when we become officers. Often, the temptation is to only see the negative side of insecurity. We think of the tension an insecure person can cause. We think of how our own insecurities and fear make us feel like a failure. This can cause us to sin by comparing ourselves to another person. Character built by the Holy Spirit in us best combats fear and insecurity. Halted character development can lead to isolation, the desire to build a kingdom that builds our ego instead of God's salvation, and it can lead to envy, which causes disunity. All of this can lead to the prison camp of death of vision. When faced with issues that might challenge our character, such as fear and insecurity, the question needs to become, am I going to allow God to make me teachable and journey with me in areas that I am weak? Does part of my sacramental living include allowing God to use the parts of me I don't like so much? When I look at the disciples, I see 57 stories of God building character through the vehicle of academics in order to build His vision for His kingdom. Character allows us to live out the vision God has for us and His kingdom. Character traits such as holiness, steadfastness, perseverance, and integrity are foundational to lifelong teachability. I don't know about you, but I would rather follow someone full of integrity who was uncertain yet malleable instead of someone who was competent, confident, and hard. We cannot afford to be a generation of officers that settles for being placeholders. We cannot afford to wait around for validation we feel entitled to in order to grow. We are indebted to the staff of the College for Officers Training, who have, with great passion and heart, worked towards teaching us the vision God has for His church and how to execute that vision. We could say all the words of gratitude we want, and they would be meaningless unless we honor their efforts and God by going into the field and applying the knowledge that has been imparted. We must use our intellect for God's glory. Seek inspiration, use our imaginations, and be innovative. The Archbishop Oscar Romero once used the phrase in a prayer, and I love this phrase, listen to it carefully. We are prophets of a kingdom not our own. We need to allow the Holy Spirit to use us where we are at and allow His fire to burn out of us. Almost 75 years later, my husband's grandma, Brigadier Marty Abella, tried her best to be here today. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it, but to us, she is an example of an officer who lives out the vision of God and allows the Holy Spirit fire to burn out of her, and she intimately understands that she is a prophet of a kingdom that is not her own. Are we ready to carry out the vision God has for His church in our time? For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. Be Thou My Vision is an old Irish hymn. It is my prayer for the newly degreed disciples. The first verse says, Be Thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me save than Thou art. Thou my best thought, by day or by night, waking or sleeping, Thy presence my light. The song then seeks the vision of the Lord in several areas of life, such as wisdom and victory and dignity. In the last line, it is if the writer is saying, even after all this journey we have been on, how you have remained faithful to me and given me all this provision, even then, Lord, the author says, still be my vision, O ruler of all. When faced with a prison camp, may we be able to say, still be my vision, O ruler of all.